Welcome back to the Steep Stuff Podcast. I'm your host, James Lariello, and I'm so excited to welcome Kyle Richardson back on the show. Kyle is fresh off his Northeast Summits tour, where Kyle biked from Manhattan all the way up to Maine and ended his trip in New Hampshire. A 1,300-mile trip with 84,000 feet of elevation gain over 15 days. In that trip, he hit 6 peaks across New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, starting with Hunter, hitting Colden, Abraham, Mount Washington, Mount Katahdin in Maine, which you guys might be familiar with, and then ending on Monadnock in New Hampshire. Super fun getting to talk to Kyle, catch up about his trip, talk about the art and his why. One thing I really appreciate about Kyle and always have is that he always brings the flavor of art into the sport. And with the sport getting so sciencey, leaning one way to the other, it's always been fun to get Kyle's perspective where he brings just a fresh perspective of art into it. Another thing we talked about was Kyle's South Platte swirl route that he created, which was a bike packing tour, as well as his route that he put up this summer, biking from Boulder to Steamboat and back for his Moot Cycles tour, which is pretty dope. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. It's always fun getting to catch up with Kyle to talk about what he's been up to, especially over the summer. I think you guys are going to appreciate his perspective. So without further ado, Kyle Richardson.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
Kyle Richardson, welcome back to the Steep Stuff Podcast. How's it going, man?
Hey, James. Thanks for having me on. I'm good. Got back to Boulder like a few days ago, so settling into my routine here, and I'm sure we'll get into it. But yeah, I had a really good month out on the East Coast. So that's kind of what I'm up to.
Dude, I love it. I mean, it was so much fun following along. I don't know if you still call it the same thing. I know you were calling it the Northeast Summits Tour. And yeah, it was such a fun kind of thing to follow along. What was it like? I got it written down here, 1,300 miles of 84,000 feet of vertical, 15 days, 6 peaks. Like what an epic of a situation there. Starting off in Manhattan and then kind of ending in New Hampshire, but still stopping off in Maine. I don't know. Maybe you tell me like your reaction and just like kind of the aftermath of the journey.
Yeah, no, it's kind of one of those projects that you're really psyched that you were able to do. You know, like it's fun to set big goals and objectives at the beginning of the year, but like I feel like you don't end up doing most of them. Just if you're setting stuff that's really like, you know, you're reaching and trying to strive for excellence, like you might get one or two of those things. And this was one of those projects that I thought about for a long time, and just went out there and did it and was like, oh, that wasn't so bad. Like I don't know. It's like we can get into the details, but I feel like it all went how it was supposed to go. Like it was smooth. There was no issues. There was no stress. There was no super low points. It was kind of like excitement and motivation for 15 days, which to just like have that every day and just be psyched is awesome. You know, I've gone on other trips where it's like, oh, this is a bit of a drag, or your mind wanders, and sometimes you have like low motivation moments, and like this was just like at the top, feeling so good, pushing for 15 days, which I don't know. I feel like that's sort of rare.
It is. It absolutely is.
I'm grateful that like I was just able to do that and be in that space. So I'm like, oh, I wonder if that will happen again. And yeah, obviously it could happen again, but yeah, lifetime moment, lifetime trip for me. And yeah, I feel like I'm still gathering my thoughts about it. But yeah, I've always been inspired by just packing up all your camping stuff on your bike and a pair of running shoes and going off and tagging some peaks. It's like you get to experience the landscape with the bike, and then you get to slow down or speed up, however you want to think about it, on foot, and get to the top of something and like take in the view and be like, oh, I started way over there, and kind of like wrap your head around like the scale of a place. You know, we both understand that you can go out your front door and like learn the hills around where you live intimately, and it's kind of expanding upon that, and like living off the bike is like kind of a way to, yeah, you're really learning the place that like, I'm not living there, but I feel like I can really take it in and appreciate it, kind of like through a trip. Um, I saw like lots of different parts of the Northeast, and like kind of have like these core memories about like what the distinct styles and like the different landscapes in those ranges. Whereas if you were driving through in a car and just like doing a summit and moving on, it kind of, I don't know, it's just a different way to experience it. And so I've always gravitated towards, yeah, living off the bike, in little spurts. This is certainly my longest trip that I've ever done. So yeah, curious to see where that experience takes me in the future if I want to do something longer or, yeah, different.
So cool, man. How was we'll get into the details, but I'm just curious how the recovery was from all that time. Like, did you recover pretty darn fast?
I mean, I've just been listening to the body and the psych. I feel like it did, like, recovery was pretty quick. I also wasn't like the goal of this project wasn't to just bury myself every day. It was like this is so new and foreign to me that you kind of just like do what the day sort of gives you. And like I would love to get into this more because I feel like this sometimes is like a mental block that people have with doing trips like this is I didn't really plan it out to where I was like, oh, I want to get here on this day and do the peak on this day. I was like, I'm gonna wake up like a little bit before sunrise, like I don't know, sometime between 5 or 6. I'm gonna spend all day moving outside, and then when I get tired at night, I'm gonna go to sleep. Like it wasn't like, oh, this sufferfest or the hammering and like really like digging myself into a well. So my body was like great the whole time.
That's
Like
amazing.
I took 2 days off and I was like, oh, I want to go ride the bike. So no, I wasn't sore. I wasn't. It was more just mental like brain fog, which is, yeah. I mean, I was putting in big days, but it all felt reasonable, and it was like I don't know, just yeah. You're sort of just soft pedaling all day. You're running pretty easy. It's just like just kind of like that endurance mode. I'm sure like if I was really start doing some high intensity training, I'd probably feel like a little sluggish and off and yeah, like just a little taxed. But other than that, yeah, I feel great and certainly like psyched to get outside and go running and biking.
I love it. Let's get into that, what you said a little bit with, I really like that style where you bring your bivvy with you, you're living off the bike, and you're not really setting expectations where, especially for instance, I'll just use the first leg of your journey on the New York or the Empire Trail, where you can kind of just jump off and bivvy as you go. And you don't really have to set expectations on, oh, I have to be in this town by tomorrow, or I have to be on this peak by the next day. I almost feel like that just opens the journey up, and with the relief of expectations, it allows you to kind of, I don't know, be more open to the experience and let it come to you as opposed to rushing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean you're saying it perfectly, and it's leading up to the trip. It was like kind of chaos. Like I joined Killian to go up Long's Peak at the start of his like States of Elevation project, and then the next day I flew to Brooklyn, which is like a full day of travel, and like landed in the afternoon, got the bike, like took a taxi to my friend's place in Brooklyn, and we like I didn't even set up the bike. We like went out. We rode city bikes in to Manhattan. I guess I don't even know where we were. Went to like an art show. We got like late night Chinese food. We went to the pool hall. We were having beers. Like it was not like this like, oh, I'm rested and recovered. Like I was wanting to soak up the full experience and like hang with my like really close friend, see his sort of spots. We woke up the next day. I went for like a 4 mile run around Brooklyn and got like breakfast sandwiches. And like, I didn't start the technical day one till like 11 or noon. So it was like very much about the whole experience. Like you're saying, like let kind of letting go of the, like an itinerary, or like I had the peaks, and it was like, I guess I'll just say this for people that aren't familiar with the trip that I did. I did a peak in the Catskills, the Adirondacks, the Green Mountains, the White Mountains, and then I don't really know what you want to call the big range of mountains that go up through Maine. I'm not even sure what they're called, but went up to Katahdin and then back to Mount Monadnock in southern New Hampshire. So those are like the core pieces that held the trip together. But other than that, I was like, let's, just keep it loose. And that honestly was such a refreshing, exciting way to like go about things. Cause like, I don't really know what's going to happen next. Like, I like that rhythm of like, sometimes you're biking all day. Sometimes you're like biking and then doing a peak the next morning. So you're kind of anticipating running in the morning, and you kind of can get in that headspace, like starting the day with a run. Sometimes you bike all morning and then do a run in the afternoon, and you're like running into the evening light, and that has a completely different feel than kind of the other options. So it's super exciting to kind of have it constantly switching, because you honestly don't know how far it's going to take or how long it's going to take to get somewhere. And kind of like that's what I'm talking about with the stress of trying to analyze, oh, I have to get here at this point. Yeah, if you let go of that, then you're just along for the ride, and it's super yeah, you're just like, I don't know what's going to happen next. And that's a fun kind of feeling. You kind of get excited about the next peak, I guess, the next place that you're going to get to. Also, when you're somewhere that you've never been, it's like, I don't really know what this terrain's going to be like. And the riding and roads in the Northeast, you can link a lot of trails and rail trails. So you don't really know where you are, because sometimes you're just in this tunnel and you're just in that for a long time. And then all of a sudden you get to the next spot. And you're like, oh, now I'm here. Whereas in Colorado, if say you're in like the Arkansas River Valley, you can see like kind of the terrain ahead of you. You can see like, oh, okay, like I see a couple of hills, and then Buena Vista's down there, and then you keep riding like, oh, okay, I don't know, you just see like the towns, you see the landscape better. In the Northeast, you're sneaking around, like you can't really tell the scale of things. You're just like, I guess I'm gonna ride a long time, and then oh, there's the mountain right in front of you, where you'll go over like so many rolling hills, and then you'll get to something that looks a little more prominent. You're like, okay, now I'm in the next zone. So it just had, yeah, a new feel to that, kind of the way that the terrain hits you. So.
And the terrain is interesting too. The thing I think that when I figured out what you were doing, I was so jealous. I was like, I have to do something like this at some point, just because, for folks and listeners of the podcast, like that have either explored, whether it's the Catskills or the Whites or the Adirondacks, the terrain more or less gets more aggressive as you kind of go further north, and then I guess northeast-ish, ending in Katahdin, which is this like beautiful knife edge ridge line that's like, totally exposed, and something you would never expect to see in the Northeast. Did you kind of conceptualize it from that? Like, did you have any other like renditions of this route that you wanted to do, or was it always kind of this beautiful idea of starting in New York and then biking to these locations? Like, how did you put that plan together?
Yeah, no, it's definitely evolved. I did like a 9-day trip last year that I tagged summits in Vermont and New Hampshire. That was kind of a stepping stone for this project. I've tossed around like adding more peaks or different ranges into a similar trip, but I don't know. I halfway through the year, I like wanted to this idea of starting in New York City and then going to Katahdin, and that was like the major part of the route that I was like, oh, that'd be so sick to go, yeah, from this metropolis all the way to, this lone peak out in the woods of Maine, and kind of explore the possibilities of having adventure in these like super dense urban areas. Because for the most part, except for Maine, like there's people everywhere, and you could still have this like wild experience. Like I felt very much out there many times throughout the whole trip. So yeah, kind of there was that through line of exploring the sort of the wilderness of these different mountain ranges. And I certainly made it a point to like get off the main roads, like follow trails and rail trails and back roads and gravel roads as much as possible, for a multitude of reasons, like dealing with cars, and also just it's more scenic. But you know, that does add challenges with like a lot more vertical. You're constantly going like over kind of the more difficult way. But yeah, I would say just the city to the different peaks was kind of the inspiration when it came down to the like to get to start.
Let's get into that a little bit. I want to talk about some of the like the specific routes. Like you started your obviously started your trip on in Brooklyn,
Mm.
or was it Queens? And it kind of goes because I know that's where the Empire State Trail starts, which I've ridden on a ton. Both I've ran on a ton and then I've biked on it a ton. And we'll talk about this a little more. But like, what did you think of that? I thought that was kind of neat. That like that is a pretty solid, for the most part, rail trail system that you can kind of get. At least I've only been on it through what is it, past Poughkeepsie to New Paltz, and then a little bit closer to the Catskills. Like, is it pretty legit the whole way through? Like, are you able to not really get too connected with cars and stuff like that? Or are you kind of on your own?
Yeah, no, good question. So the trip technically started in like High Bridge, which is just started the old Croton Aqueduct, which I've seen like these YouTubers and Instagram sort of cyclists, Terry Berenson and Tim Fitzwater, they've like posted videos of doing these routes, and that's kind of where I learned about them. But it's basically, I don't know, 30, 40 miles of gravel that leaves High Bridge, which you feel like you're still in like the big city there. So kind of an epic way to start, gravel out of the city. So I think there is alternate routes, or like the Empire State Trail maybe doesn't include the OCA, but either way, they're both like bike friendly options. I think the OCA is like a little more cutty, interesting, sort of going through people's backyard on like this single track, following like this historic aqueduct that brings water to the city. Um, yeah, that was like, oh, I want to do this. And that kind of easily links into the Empire State Trail, and then from there it's like, yeah, all the way to Kingston, or I guess New Paltz. It's yeah, it's all bike path. So I think that's 100 miles or something at least. And yeah, you're crossing intersections where you could take a left turn and like go into town, or you could just stay on the path. And so yeah, that's like a really nice way to go about biking. Yeah, you cross like the AT for the first time on that segment, and I saw other bike packers. You see runners, hikers, everyone's out and about on those, so it's fun to, yeah, just kind of log the miles in the green tunnel there. The leaves are starting to turn, and that was the only day this is day two, the only day where there was a storm. I was in New Paltz, and this like giant front was like crashing over me, and like I just got nicked by it, but I was like waiting undercover just for 30 minutes or whatnot, eating some stuff from the gas station, and it passed, and I was like, all right, now we're good. And so I went up and over the gunks, and then over down into Kingston. So yeah, that was a pretty car free day. Trying to think, you go over that big Hudson Bridge.
Yeah.
What's it called, Hudson Bridge,
I think
or
it's
what's it?
I should know this. My wife's family is literally from there. The Mid
And
Hudson
New
Bridge.
Paltz. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah,
epic.
yeah. That's so cool. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
such a small world. I saw like obviously I was following your Instagram story. It's when I messaged you. I was like, dude, like I was here all summer. It's such a beautiful place, and I don't know. I feel like the gunks are neat. There's lots of exploring there, and then it opens it up to the Catskills. And Catskills, I mean, more or less have their own kind of natural beauty to them. I know a lot of people kind of play in the Catskills. It's almost like kind of the little bro. I feel bad because it gets like the reputation of maybe the little brother to the Adirondacks, if you will, which are a little bit more burly and gnarly. I kind of told you, I was like, Hunter Mountain, check it out. What was your experience there? What did you think of that peak? I know it's kind of short but sweet.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was kind of like reaching out to a couple of people, and like, what should I run here, because I don't know anything about the area, and like it's easy to just default to like the high point, which I slide, right? And I don't know anything about it. This wasn't a high points tour. I kind of like wanted just to get that flavor, like what's a good taste of this mountain range. It can be short or long. Like I wasn't trying to do anything crazy long, but yeah, no, no preconceived notions about this is the kind of peak that I want to run. So you gave me an excellent recommendation, and like earlier a second ago, you were like, um, it gets more technical as you get up to Maine, but like going up Hunter,
That's a brutal
it's
climb.
rooty. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
technical, and that's the exact kind of trail and mountain that I like to run. So yeah, I think that lives next to all the other peaks that I did, and I thought it had a unique summit, and yeah, just interesting terrain, interesting, yeah, just kind of little ridge line that you go up. So yeah, I thought that was sick. It was a good entry to like running in New York and sort of what the trip had to offer, you know. That whole day was good, like the rail trail leaving Kingston, um, the towns that I went through, the roads, it was all like A plus, you know, good riding, interesting, beautiful hillsides, and yeah, I feel like yeah, that was one of the better days. And then even after the run, I think I described this section as it's mostly paved, but the way that I was trying to go north is you'd kind of cut up and over these hills, and like the very top bits of these hills had little interesting dirt sections. So you'd climb for a little bit on pavement, then you'd have like, you know, a 4x4 road just to get you up and over, or you could ride around on a busier road. But I kind of like taking the steeper, quieter option. So I thought the riding was super beautiful and interesting. Had like a really good mix. You're constantly changing surfaces, going through small towns. Yeah, I left with a good impression of the Catskills and like to go back and explore more.
Yeah. How long was that connection, if you don't mind me asking, between the Adirondacks and the Catskills? Was that about a day, 2 days, something like that, to get from one range to the next?
Yeah, I think it was like a day and a half. And that was totally just me, you know, looking at a map, trying to figure out the best way on the computer before I left. I felt like I did a pretty good job linking the roads, but yeah, that certainly that section was a bit arbitrary. You know, like I'm staying out of the Hudson Valley. You could default back down there and maybe hop on rail trail, but I was like, oh, I want to keep it a little more direct. So it ended up working out great. Good roads, good towns. So it feels like Amish country, you know, down in the farmlands, and yeah, it was just kind of this cool little connector. Mostly paved, but good roads.
How was it bivvying out? Like, did
Mm.
anybody give you any hard, like, I find it funny because like we have a culture here in the West where it's much more common, and obviously in some parts of the Northeast, maybe a little common for bike packers, but like, did anybody come across here like, what the hell is this guy doing? Like,
Like yeah, you always get comments here and there, like at gas stations and here and there, but it's people are yeah surprised to see you out there. They want to know like where you started or how heavy your bike is, but for the most part, people kind of just are in their own little world. I tried to bivvy where you know people weren't going to see me. I didn't really want to have interactions with people out, you know, stealth bivvying. It's definitely hard to find places to sleep. Like in a trip like this, you can sometimes call ahead and get a campground spot. You sometimes can't anticipate when you're going to need that or like show up at a campground. So I never had a ton of success with that. So I was often just looking for little bits of public land or state forests and kind of sneaking away on little, yeah, quiet roads and stuff out in the woods. So
that's
I didn't have any issues with people. So
good. That's positive. It's good to
yeah,
hear. What
but it's
was it?
always a little touch and go, you know.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
had
no, of course, of
to,
course. You never know if you're gonna like run into a homeless guy or something out there. It's like,
yeah,
you
no,
know.
it's happened before, and like, yeah, yeah. Here in
Well,
Colorado, you know, you
oh yeah, Boulder,
go
man.
into the national forest, and there's not like homes in between you. Like, it's at least where you know where I was traveling through. It's like little spots in between subdivisions or like people's houses, basically. So you kind of like can hear dogs barking, and yeah, so it it's a little touch and go sometimes. You know, you might be rolling up in someone's property, but.
Interesting. How you must be like a like Gaia GPS like savant. Like how did you map this whole thing going into it? Like were you just sitting on there for like days trying to figure out like okay, like this road connects to this, that connects to this, that connects to that? Like how did you put this all together?
Yeah, I mean that's yeah, that yeah, using Gaia and like other mapping apps, but they definitely defaulting to Gaia to just make the segments like break it down piece by piece. I don't think most apps crash when you try to make a route like past so many miles or something. It's like it's better to just break it down into maybe I kind of was like potential days, but sort of yeah, transfers from one mountain range to the next. And then I also was riding on some known bikepacking routes like the Eastern Divide, like the Cross Vermont Trail and what's it called? The Eastern Trail. Eastern Greenway or whatnot. So some of it was like stuff that people have scouted. So it was kind of mix matching that all together to, yeah, get the route. But some of it was just on the fly, like type it in on Google Maps and just put it in the most direct way.
Yeah, well, I feel like it's got to be one of those things too, where at least my hesitation would be like trying your hardest not to end up on like a busy road, like trying everything you can to like end up on somehow on like a dirt road or something like that.
That happened once, and it was like that was probably the sketchiest moment of the whole trip. I was getting towards a Croton Point on the first day, and I like dumped onto the interstate on accident. Like there was like a bike path that was protected, but it was like on the other side of the road, and I think Google Maps had me going on that, but I didn't like zoom in to see exactly. It looked like it was like the interstate, or yeah, at the time I was like, oh, this is just another busy road. I didn't actually, yeah, process that I was hopping onto the highway, and it was like, yeah, not chill. But luckily, I like merged onto the highway, and it was the next exit I could get off. So I was on it for like 2 minutes, but still, it was. I was like, oh shit, this is not what I'm trying to do.
That's crazy.
Cars like flying, whatever, 75 miles an hour, and I'm like crossing 3 lanes of traffic in my like 50-pound rig. It's hard to accelerate super fast.
Yeah, big time, big time. It's got to be nerve-wracking, dude.
Yeah, that was the only part where I was like, that was just a dumb mistake. You should have stopped and zoomed in on the route. But other than that, I didn't have any other issues with cars or like getting onto a bad road. I would say, yeah, most of the time, even Google Maps, like it won't send you down the highway. Like I think it knows better. I was just stupid to not inspect.
Interesting. What was all right, so I'm trying to the way I'm trying to bridge this conversation is like, so we kind of got through the Catskills. I want to talk about the Adirondacks a little bit. In the Adirondacks you did, it was Mount Abraham if I remember correctly, or was that in Vermont?
That was Vermont. I did Mount Colden, like
okay.
Trap Dyke. Yeah, in the Adirondacks. That was a really good one. That was probably one of my favorites.
Talk about that one a little bit. Was that just like a short and sweet one, or is it, because I've been on Marcy before. I haven't I haven't spent too much time in the Adirondacks, only like a couple trips. But just it seems like it's a bit more burly, technical, a lot of exposure, just a different type of range. It's a lot of fun. So
yeah, no, totally. So the Adirondacks are kind of hard to get to, at least from any roads, and certainly where I was coming from the south. Like I was trying to find an entryway into the Adirondacks coming like from the south. So I landed on like the Upper Works trailhead. Otherwise, you'd have to like bike kind of all the way around to access from the north. And so I like where I wanted to go next, it made more sense to come in from the south. So I decided like, oh, I'm gonna do something from Upper Works, and from there I decided like, oh, this would be a sweet peak to do. Like I thought about Marcy, but again, this wasn't like a high points trip, so I wasn't like dead set on doing that. I wanted to just do like a technical route that has like an interesting summit, and so this like checked the box on all that. So this route, Trap Dyke, goes up this big dike onto a huge slide, which kind of feels like a big flat iron. So I had some interesting, like easy scrambling and then some just slab romping up to the summit, and it kind of puts you right at the top. It's, yeah, super interesting trail, with some good exposure, some cool like ladders and slab running. And so, yeah, it was, I think I want to say 15 miles, something like that. So kind of, yeah, like a pretty good sized run after a morning, or I guess half a day of biking. That was one of those days. So I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the run in today, because I don't know what the roads are like to get there. But I ended up arriving at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, which is perfect. Plenty of, daylight to go do the run. So that was a fun one. Just starting near the headwaters of the Hudson River. I don't totally know the historical context for the trailhead, but I know there is some interesting stuff about like, I think it was Theodore Roosevelt was staying there at one point, and yeah, just kind of like some interesting, history there. I was kind of like too tired to really like dig into that. You could tell that it had some meaning, and I definitely got a kind of sort of a glimpse of that. So yeah, it was a solid run. I feel like that had some, interesting technical elements that made it full value. Yeah, cool summit. So I was psyched to kind of pull that one off and then bike another 30 miles into the night. down into the Hudson River Valley. So yeah,
Wow.
solid impression, first impression of the Adirondacks.
Wow. I mean, and that dude, that's a range you could spend so much time in. Like, there's so much going on there, in the sense of like lots of cool FKTs, lots of cool like classics and up down routes that are like pretty dope. And yeah, the Adirondack Mountain Park is legit. Obviously, Vermont is Vermont. I've never been on Abraham. I actually don't know much about it, but I do want to get to, for the sake of time, I want to fast forward to New Hampshire and talk about running up, just the whites, running up Mount Wash, and just kind of your experience with that. I know obviously it's probably not your first time up there on Mount Washington, but it's always a special time going in those mountains. Like those mountains have me very interested. Like I love the White Mountains in New Hampshire. Like everything is very steep. It's very technical. It's very vertical. It's just so different from Colorado in so many ways. Talk about your experience just in New Hampshire in general, but you talk about the white specifically.
Yeah, so I want to say Washington is sort of the only. No, I've done a couple other peaks in the whites, but it's kind of the only peak I've really spent more time on than just once. And yeah, it's big, it's tall, so I feel like that is appealing. Kind of thinking that maybe in the future I'd like to explore different peaks because I feel like I've always dedicated these trips to kind of going up Washington. I Yeah, it was a super solid run. I feel like it started in the afternoon and there was not many people on the summit, or there was no one on like where the sign is, you know. So you could go out there and just kind of soak it in and not feel like you're on the top of like a mall or something. Uh but yeah, no, the light was gorgeous. The fall tundra, technical, like fun to like run up that thing. It just makes sense to kind of tag it from the, what would that be? The east side, or no,
Yeah.
the west side.
Yeah.
I've like done
What did you
what's
which
it?
did you go up the, man? What is the
Like
name
the
of it?
ammo trail.
Yeah, yeah. And then it's across from Wildcat. What is the name? Tuckerman Ravine. Did you go up that way or?
No, so I went up the other side, but I've done Tux and I've done Huntington Ravine. But this trip, just some of it also was wanting to tag these peaks in like a logical way, not having to like go completely out of the way to get to a certain trailhead.
Yeah.
It's like what makes the most sense in like a nice aesthetic loop. I feel like sometimes it's worth it to, yeah, dig your heels in and be like, I have to do it from this trailhead because that's just what I want to do. This time I was like, yeah, doing it from the other side, which you could argue isn't as interesting as like the Tuckerman, like the Pinkham Notch side. And yeah, like that side's a little more raw and kind of rugged, whereas I think the west side, it's like more just talus. I think like a gradual slope, but still, it's cool. I liked it, but it doesn't compare to Katahdin in terms of an interesting sort of alpine peak. It's yeah,
Dude,
Katahdin is
talk about Katahdin because that's a
yeah.
legit peak.
Yeah, I mean that's the closest thing that I encountered to anything in Colorado or like in the Longs area or yeah, sort of the 14ers we have. The Katahdin lived up to that with some good exposure and like ridge running, like an extended ridge that's technical. Uh, so like doing at the Cathedral Trail, like you got to use your hands. I mean, it's easy scrambling, but still, it's more interesting than just hiking upstairs or hiking up the slope. And yeah, it was just kind of a perfect run. Interesting, beautiful terrain that I was like, oh, it was worth it for all the miles because there's a lot of terrain from Mount Washington to Katahdin.
Yeah, it's not
That was like
close.
3.5 days of riding, and the riding is like very burly. Like it's some of the burliest riding I've ever done. Super remote, like long stretches without resupply. Um, Anyone that's done the AT, knows those towns up there. There's not a lot of them. There's just a few. So, uh, I feel like I got a little taste of that, and yeah, definitely got the most beat up on the bike out of the whole trip. Like my hands were cooked after those 3 days, just super rocky and bumpy roads and sandy and honestly everything that you could imagine.
A lot of logging roads. Is it just like logging up there where they just kind of destroy the road more or less, or like what is it?
Yeah, it's a mix of dirt roads, logging roads, kind of 4x4 roads, snowmobile trails that are overgrown that you're riding. Like just yeah, there is some really cool stuff, but also like it's really rough and slow going, which Yeah, I think there's this like 80-mile stretch of just double track where you're just like in this tunnel, super pretty. This is going on forever. You just like feel like, when is this going to end? I mean, yeah, that's pretty cool to have a section like that.
In a section like that, are you in your own head, or like just deep in thought and experience, or are you listening to music? Like, how do you choose to experience something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I just both probably, like it was like my headphones broke halfway through the trip, so like I got new ones, but they were kind of like on the fritz and like slowly dying. So yeah, I would probably like listen to a music or podcast for an hour or whatever, like till it ends, and I'll check out of that and just be like in my own head for a couple hours and back to the music, and then just kind of like oscillating between the two, just depending on like how interesting the terrain is, or like if I'm on a road with cars, like it's easier to kind of want to block that noise out, not like block it out so I don't hear it, but just have like something on top of the noise to kind of like make it more palatable, honestly. So
Interesting. What I gotta ask you this, like, because I feel like, so we nailed the peaks, we talked about that. I want to make sure we encompass like everything from this journey, that was as like to make sure we capture everything. Like, what are the final takeaways? Like, is this something are you gonna build on this and go back and try and do something else? Do you think you're done with the Northeast, or like what are your final thoughts on this particular project?
yeah, no, I feel like that definitely, I would do something different. Like it wouldn't be maybe like someday doing all the 4,000 meter or 4,000 foot peaks in that area, but I don't think I'm gonna do something kind of like what I just did. I feel like I like checked the box on that and would want to move on and do something different. Certainly want to do other like bike and peak link ups, but I feel like for the Northeast, yeah, it would have to be something like much bigger, or like, yeah, doing all those peaks in one trip, which I've talked about with some people before. And I don't know, that doesn't really pull me as much as like what I just did. I don't know, something about like it's not contrived, but like it's less interesting with the biking. I feel like you're having to bike all around the different ranges in like this micro level just to get to all the peaks. Whereas this was a nice way to kind of spread it all out. I mean, maybe I'll change my mind at some point, but for now, I think that was like a good chapter for this kind of trip. But I'm definitely not done with the Northeast in terms of wanting to go back and just do single day runs and peaks and like bike rides. I'll always be coming back to do stuff there. So
I mean, there's so much there to do. I think it's
yeah.
just immensely slept on, that people don't understand just like the level of technicality and stuff that's out there. On the topic of like going back and doing stuff, is there any like one peak that kind of calls to you, like for a record? Like, did Katahdin like kind of speak out? Because I know Dan's got some records on there. He might even have the overall record on Katahdin. I can't remember. Is there any like one particular peak that like sticks out, maybe in New Hampshire or Vermont or even Maine, that is worthy of you coming back and trying to give it like a world-class effort on?
I mean, Katahdin is, I think the Katahdin, Washington, those are definitely like striking peaks. But even the last peak that I did, Mount Monadnock, that's like one of my all-time favorites, and it's pretty, I think, slept on in like the running community. I think it's really popular with hikers, and there is a core group of runners that like recreate up there. Some super fast guys, and I've had the record on one of the trails there at one point. So yeah, I feel like those three definitely, if I could go spend more time, and Monadnock's certainly the easiest one to kind of dedicate to learning intimately, because my girlfriend Abby's from that area, and so I've done that peak like 30 times, and there's half a dozen sort of premier ascent and descent lines on that peak. So that's one where you can really like dial in, and it's shorter than Katahdin or Washington, but I don't think that takes away from it. I think it is just as cool.
Yeah. Interesting. All right, dude. I want to. If you're good on this, we can actually. I do have one last question for you, kind of related, kind of not. Is it a pain in the ass to fly with your bike? Like I've not tried that yet. I've been wanting to do
Yeah,
that.
this is like people waited the whole podcast for like the most important question. They're like, we like stop rambling. Let's get to the stuff that like actually can help other people do this kind of trip, which is good. I feel like end on something that's useful. It's not hard to fly with your bike. You know what? You have to make the investment to get the bike bag, but once you have the bag, it's like, yeah, it works. You know, I've flown with him multiple times and never had an issue. Get one that has wheels that you can roll around and like kind of research on the airline what their bike policy is. Depending on, I guess, where you're flying out of or like what crew, you know, is looking at the bike or when you have to pay. I think the pricing definitely varies. Like I've flown with it where it's free. I've flown with it where it's just a regular check bag. I've flown with it where they like want to weigh it and it's like crazy heavy and it's, you know, $100 or something. So yeah, I've kind of gotten the full spectrum there, but you're also flying with your bike and all your stuff. It's kind of like it's going to cost a little bit. So,
Yeah.
but it works. You know, I've nothing but good things. I mean, I fly United. I feel like they're pretty good with their bike policy, and yeah,
Shout out United.
pack it the right way. You know, like I deconstruct the bike fully, even like the little parts that could bend, take the rotors off and kind of you know, pat it and put all your like other clothing and bike bags in there and like kind of situate that nicely, and yeah, you'll be good when you get to your destination. So yeah, there's no stress there.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I've always been curious. I almost did it this year and decided we drove instead, and I just wound up packing it in the car. It's just way better. But yeah, no, definitely something I'll be doing in the future. All right, I got to shift gears because I got to talk to you about Long's Peak with Killian.
Yeah, nice.
You kind of mentioned that in the beginning of the episode. Let's talk about the experience. Was that because Long's Peak is so iconic with you? It's very integral to your story in a lot of ways. And that was the first peak he chose to do on his kind of his journey, his project that he's working on. Like, talk about that experience and how special that was for you.
Yeah, that was one of the better runs that I've ever done, you know. Linking up with Killian for like a 4:30 a.m. start to go up your favorite mountain, you know, it's like not every day you get the text message to like come out and join someone like that up a mountain. And yeah, super grateful that I got the opportunity to do that. And part of me was like, oh, it would be kind of nice to follow someone in the dark up longs that knows it really well, you know, like there is some advantage to be had there, especially you know, at night. And um yeah, to be super efficient, it's like the line is pretty nuanced, and I was like, oh shit, but I better not mess this up, because a lot of time in the daylight you're using like features on the landscape that are really far away to kind of decide where you want to go once you're above tree line. So with the headlamp, it's like kind of hard to do that, but we ended up, you know, we nailed the route perfectly, and yeah, it was just good vibes and good conversation the whole way. You got to the summit and like the alpenglow was starting, and went on to Pagoda, the next peak in the LA freeway. And yeah, it's just good conversation and fun times, just chatting and sharing the love for the place and kind of like hearing about the project and his inspiration and talking about shoes and nutrition and this, you know, we kind of just yeah, hit the topics, you know, we were just talking and having a good time.
So cool. If you don't mind me asking, like, how did that opportunity come about? Did they reach out? Did he reach out to you? Did he really? Holy shit.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say we're not really, we're friends and acquaintances, but like we've chatted a bit on Instagram or like sent messages back and forth a few times. And yeah, it was just like, oh, if you're interested, like would love to, you know, have you start on longs, you know, to go up there or whatnot. But yeah, I was like, how could I turn that down? Also, I was like, who knows how my summer is going to go. Hopefully I'm healthy. I can do it. You know, it was like kind of far. It was, yeah. After Western, I think he reached out, or maybe it was before that. Either way, it's like you put that on the calendar and you're like, oh, okay, I hope let's just like keep that in mind for while we're going through summer. It's something to look forward to. So, and it's cool to see that he's included so much of the community over his whole project. Like so many people have gone, like that after, he did the LA Freeway. He like linked up with Leo Wilcox, like ultra cycling legend. Like then they ride to Echo Lake or wherever is that where they went to, like below Mount Blue Sky?
Yeah.
and it's like, bro, what are you doing? Like 21 hour, 22-hour pull, like your first day. It's like no one could even do that ever. Like no one, his first day is like an iconic day, and then he just continues to back that up day after day, doing these insane days, and I can't wrap my head around it, and I kind of into that sort of sphere of doing big days and linking stuff, but this is on a whole nother level. No one's even coming close to doing this kind of stuff, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
His 14ers, it was like I don't remember the average vert that he's doing per day, but it's like 16K or something per day. Something silly. It's like that's bigger than anyone's one day,
Really, dude, it's bananas, man. I don't know how this guy's a superhuman. It's absolutely crazy. Did you get a chance to read Dakota's experience with him in the Wilson group? I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
That was a good write up.
Yeah, no, I actually I remember I messaged Dakota because like, oh, it's super, like he's a really good writer, but just his perspective and like honesty and vulnerability about the whole thing was like super interesting. And yeah, I thought that was really well done. And it just gives you like a look into one Dakota, but also Killian, like he's a good guy, he's not like someone that's gonna force it, or like if you're not feeling it, like he's down to like go the longer way. And like that says a lot about, I don't know, who he is and like the people he wants to be friends with, and like Dakota and Killian's relationship. It's like they obviously have a good friendship and like close connection. So yeah, and it's also a good reminder that if you're not feeling it just because you're with the goat doesn't mean you need to like force something that you're not comfortable with, because you like you're with someone that could give you a false sense of confidence. And so that's also something to like be reminded of, like to not get out of your comfort zone just because you're like, you just could be with a new friend or someone that's showing you a technical route. Like I've had these interactions and experiences with people. It's like it's a good reminder to like be vocal and communicate if you're not like vibing with something, like you don't need to, I don't know, be in your own head about that. I feel like that's when mistakes happen. So it's better to kind of collaborate. And it's interesting because they made that decision to kind of turn around or bail, and that like shed light on a new way across the ridge that they hadn't originally seen. And so it's like that communication opened up a new door. So I think there's a lot to be said about that. And so that was like the big thing that, rang through the piece for me. So I thought that was super cool. And of course, like Killian, he would just go on, like he could just go on solo and just dance across the ridge, like it's no problem for him. You see him doing like crazy stuff. But yeah, no, that was a cool piece.
It speaks to his character. I think that above a lot, it definitely says like, him being willing to change up the plan or change up the route in general. Just, given with Dakota's comfort level, I think that just says a lot about who he is. So that's, it was cool. It was a good write up. I definitely got to say. But yeah, man, I'm really excited to see you do longs. On that thread of normal, I saw that you were wearing the Girard Brutes. Was that the solo shoe of choice on your link up that you did?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just love that shoe. Like I like shoes with big lugs. And I feel like it's perfect for the Northeast for like the muddy, wet, rooty, rocky trails. And also they're just like super light, it's like the lightest shoe that I have. So if you're going to be carrying it 1,300 miles, like it's nice to have a light shoe, and they're also, what do you want to call it, like hydrophobic, or the water kind of like repels quite easily through them. I mean, they were designed to be running in the fells, so like they can get completely drenched and they like don't hold any water. So that happened multiple times. Like in the Adirondacks, like both my feet just like plunge into a bog. Your shoes are just absolutely caked with mud. You just like dip them in the river. By the end of the run, they're just like fine. Whereas like a shoe with a lot of padding on the upper, and just shoes would get like super like soggy and gross. So these are the perfect sort of waterproof option, and has the tread and the lug pattern to go up like technical rooty trails.
Cool.
So,
it's a cool shoe. It's aesthetically beautiful too. I've seen a few of them in the wild. Like I have a buddy that wears them all the time. I'm like, that is a really cool looking shoe.
Yeah, no, it's literally the only shoe that I brought. Even like after the trip was done, I was like going to dinner in them,
Yeah.
It's the only shoe I had that wasn't the cycling shoes. And it's like, I think my partner Abby, she was like, "Oh, those are like really like pretty shoes. Like they kind of like work as a lifestyle shoe."
Yeah.
And that was like kind of a thing with my whole kit is like have stuff that like looks good, that's stylish, that's multi-purpose, that's like I don't look homeless out there and about. Like I don't know. I something about looking like a bit more put together, like the button-up shirt, and I don't know. Like maybe that's just all like mental, but kind of just have the kit like, look presentable, you know? The
Yeah.
shoes and the colorway, like it kind of helps with that. So
Super cool. Yeah.
yeah.
All right, let's shift gears a little bit with the time we got left. I really want to talk about your Boulder to Steamboat trip that you did. What a cool route, dude. I was like, this is awesome. I got to do this. So maybe talk about it a little bit. You can keep it open-ended. Say whatever you want to say, but like I definitely want to hear more on this adventure, and people can read your write-up as well on the Gaia. It's in your Instagram bio. So
Yeah, so this trip came up with my partnership with Moots. They're based out of Steamboat Springs, so they were having their 40th anniversary. Sort of, they were coining the Ranch Rally, was like a 40-mile ride, kind of touring the dirt roads north of Steamboat. And yeah, I thought it'd be cool to kind of ride out there and like do the XL version of their ride. So it was like a 4.5 day trip, 5 day trip. I brought the running shoes and like went up Long's Peak on my way out there, and then crossed the Continental Divide a bunch of times and did a bunch of passes, sort of classic Colorado roads. And that was also kind of like good prep for my trip in the Northeast. It's kind of like a shorter, hard loop that would kind of condition the body and build summer fitness. And yeah, it's kind of just like a stepping stone for what I was doing later in the year. But yeah, it was a beautiful route. I've done a bunch of those roads many times in separate trips, but this was kind of like the perfect tour, like where you do it in a direction that flows really well, like good resupply. And yeah, kind of finished with the crux of the route coming down Rollins Pass, and then you drop down into Boulder and the route's done. So um, Gaia had reached out to me about doing a little partnership about routes, and I was like, oh, this would be the perfect opportunity to kind of nail down the route on paper and like give all the waypoints and do a little trip report for that. And kind of so that was just something that sparked after the fact, but certainly it was cool to like showcase it a bit. And I feel like Boulder's kind of missing some more like premier bikepacking routes, or Steamboat or wherever you want to drop into the route, kind of like missing that premier short to middle distance like bikepacking route. Like there's long stuff, there's shorter stuff, but kind of that sweet spot where it's you could do it in 3 or 4 or 5 days, and kind of feel like it's not too long, but it's also not an overnighter. So I feel like the routes oftentimes live in those two categories, where it's like you could do overnighters, and obviously that varies with the kind of mileage that you're looking to do, but at least for me, it's like you got those mega rides and then like the overnighters, and this is kind of lives in that like middle ground where it's could take a long weekend, or it's manageable. It's nothing crazy. So
so cool.
yeah,
What a better way to celebrate like a partnership with a bike company than to like bike to their event. That's
yeah,
so dope.
yeah. No, I want to do more stuff like that moving forward. It's just the best way for me to like represent brands is to like fully embody what they do and like integrate that with what I like to do. And so it's not like it's nothing new to me. Like I've been bike packing on bikes before, but it's like it just integrates seamlessly to what I like to do, and it's documenting it and sharing that with people. It's cool to get people psyched on the bikes and the Colorado history of like Moots being such a core brand, and like trying to take those feelings that I work with Moots and other brands and like further into like my professional careers. Like how can I build relationships like that, and just like authentic partnerships and stuff. And then like at the end of the day, if like you have to post about it, like that's okay. I feel like I would shy away from that, or like not wanting to do paid content, but it's also cool when it's something that you're excited about and feels natural. Like it's easy for me to talk about routes or bikes or running shoes. It's like stuff that I use every day. So, and I feel like people like are psyched about it and they want to ask me questions, and it's cool to motivate and get people and like inspired to go do these routes, because I think that they're premier, a classic, and I wouldn't be sharing it if I didn't think that it was like something fun and cool to do. Like I don't want to send people on like bad routes. That's like a fear, I want it to be like the premier curation of like this, the ultimate loop, I've thought about it in this way or that way, and like I settled it on this because it makes more sense or whatever. It's more beautiful. So yeah, really like digging into that and excited to like share. I'm gonna share one more like this month, October, one more route. So something to look forward to. And this is another one that's like super special to me. And yeah,
I like them all.
maybe,
I mean,
yeah.
and I'll link them in the show notes so people can read them. And I really want to direct folks because I think you're very intentional in your writing as well with what you say. I mean, like you said, you don't want to share a bad route, but you're also very intentional in even talking about like traffic level. Like, oh, this is a wide shoulder, this is a one-way road where, especially when you're talking about the initial pass going over to Steamboat, to into Granby and like the Grand Lake area, how it's a one-way dirt road and there's a wide shoulder and it's only one-way traffic. Watch out for elk, stuff like that. I think folks like really appreciate, and it's very intentional. So,
well, it's interesting because I feel like other websites. I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus, but like if you talk to most like riders, let's say like they're beginner or intermediate, like a lot of the stuff is like it's like sandbagging, like they're quite hard. They're like if you rate a route like a 5 out of 10 and it's like there's a ton of hike a bike, it's like, is that a 5 out of 10? Like I'll be honest with the difficulty, and like I'm not saying my routes are easy, but it's also like I feel like I'm just being realistic and setting expectations. And that's kind of the idea with the write up that pairs with the routes is like I'll give you like a follow through, like kind of a play by play of what to expect. And if you need to alter that route because of like your bike or your fitness or whatever, then it's like you have that option. It's not like I'm trying to force you to do it this way. It's like this is what it is. This is my take on it. So yeah, trying to be like transparent because it's nice to know some of that stuff, especially if you travel here and you're like following the route and you see the waypoint. It's like kind of interesting to click on that stuff and like read what's about to happen. It's not totally in the dark.
Dude, it's amazing. And like on that thread, maybe we talk a little bit about the South Platte swirl. Like I've done part of that route already. Like I've got the GPX and everything saved. I've did the chunk from kind of around Woodland Park up to, what the heck is the name of that town? Not
Lake George or
no,
Deckers.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep, through Deckers. It's so beautiful out there, and I think it's such a slept on area that like a lot of folks don't really know about, which is interesting.
Yeah, this is probably one of my favorites. I was about to say favorite, but it's so hard to pick like your number one. But this one is like I've done it 4 or 5 years in a row, and it's like always a tradition to go do that route like in the beginning of spring. It's like it's just warm enough. The snow has melted off those higher elevations, like above Lake George, because it does get up to like above 9,000 feet there. So it holds snow through March. And yeah, that one I just feel like it's the perfect mix of trails, dirt roads, like sort of like OHV roads, some pavement. Like it's the perfect curated mix of surfaces. And that's kind of the riding that I like to do, where it's always changing. It's not just like the same thing for the whole ride. And yeah, that's when I feel like I can put my name behind like a lot of the other routes. Like it's a collection. Like it's hard to be like, oh, this is my route, and I'm not claiming the routes. Like it's more of just the interpretation of how to ride it. But certainly this one is like I put a lot of time to try to like make it the best that it can be. And if you were to go download it, I can almost guarantee you're gonna have a good time. Like the route is solid. So yeah, I'm kind of proud of that one, and I've ridden it with friends over the years, and it's like I said, it's a tradition to go do that. And looking forward to next year. It's so much fun. Like you start the route with going down North Fork Trail. It's like 10 miles of the best flowy single track in Colorado. It's like how often you get to start a ride like that, like fully loaded bike. Just I don't know. There's just so many little fun parts like that. You're riding the Colorado Trail, riding Buff Creek. Matucat Road. There's like so many of these classic, like amazing bike segments. You link it all together and you hit all the best stuff. It's a good one. That one I can't say enough good things about.
Yeah, absolutely primo. Yeah, I can't wait to do the whole loop. It's legit.
I was thinking it'd be cool to like partner with Moots and like try to do like invite like more people out to come do it. So do like it's pretty manageable to do like it's like 1.5 days or 2 days or maybe it's only 2 nights. Yeah, 2 nights packed for 2 nights of sleeping outside and yeah, get a bunch of people and kind of like do another rally with folks. I think that would be cool. It's a good route for that. So
Yeah, that'd be sweet, man. There's a lot of good camping spots, like throughout Pike National Forest and just in general. I don't think people realize the enormity of like that, and a lot of it, like I guess, burned, which it's the tree line aspect of it, which I think is kind of neat that you can just see so far out to Pikes Peak and to the north. It's just it's very iconic, very different.
Yeah, totally. Like it's a narrow loop, so those different rock formations kind of anchor you with like where you are on the route, and you can see like you saw one side of it and then you went around the loop and you're like, oh, there's that same rock, but now we're on the other side of it. And it kind of like gives you that scale, which is very different than the Northeast summits. So it's like hard to find scale.
Yeah, that's true. You ever stop off and like try and like mess around with any of those like formations and like try and like climb any of them?
I mean, I've thought about it. A lot of them are quite technical. I think it would be like something you'd want like a rope and a partner. I mean, you could like do some interesting sort of rambling around in the hills, but to do anything I think significant or any of those like major summits, I think I certainly would want like a partner and a rope. And at that point it's like it's more of a climbing trip. Yeah, I was just like that kind of want to like make that the focus, whereas like this is definitely the biking and like getting around the loop. I mean, certainly someone could go do it and it would make it pretty rad to do like a bike climb link up. But I think they're all like pretty hard routes and it's like I don't know, slabby and sandbagged. So
yeah,
maybe at some point.
So, dude, what's now that you're home and I saw you've gotten up a green the last few days. You're kind of back into the swing of things. What's next on the calendar? Like, what are you thinking for the late fall, early winter?
I don't have anything on the calendar. Just enjoying the mountains and getting outside. Yeah, no plans.
Nice, dude.
It's
That's
nice
the best. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like since January, it's been kind of a build of doing stuff and those couple of projects that we've been talking about and running up longs all summer. Like I definitely was focused and like had these objectives in mind. And now it's just take a couple months with no agenda. And then that kind of helps build the stoke for like, what do I want to do next year? And, I have some ideas, but certainly right now it's get outside and see where the motivation is, see what the body wants to do and not force anything. Honestly, just like stay healthy, and enjoy it, get outside.
Nice, man. Well, dude, I think we can end it on that. Thank you so much for coming on again. I love these recap episodes where we talk about your projects. They're so much fun.
See.
Yeah, we'll have to do. We'll make this a semi-annual or annual thing. So.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. I appreciate like the recommendation to go up Hunter and like the little support encouragement along the way on the gram. I feel like that's nice to like have other people contribute to the trip. And so it was cool to chat about it, and thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, dude. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. What you guys think? Oh man, Kyle always brings some great perspective to the sport, and his stories are always amazing. I want to thank him so much for coming on the podcast and telling his story about what he's been up to this summer. The Northeast Summits Tour was absolutely inspiring route. I hope more folks go out there and try to do stuff in the Northeast and go after big objectives out there, because I genuinely think those mountains are just slept on, and there's just some really inspiring and really cool stuff just outside of the Mountain West. It's pretty cool. Guys, you know how to find Kyle. You can best support him by giving him a follow on either on Strava or Instagram. You can find his Instagram handle at Kyle Richardson. That's one word, Kyle Richardson. Same with Strava. You could just type in Kyle Richardson and give him a follow. Kyle frequently posts and he puts up really good stuff. So definitely appreciative of Kyle. Guys, if you enjoyed the podcast and enjoyed this episode and others, the best way you could support us is giving us a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you consume the show. Would really appreciate that. It's how we can continue telling so many amazing stories for all these athletes across the world, which is pretty cool. Very last but not least, you can also support us by supporting our brand partner, Ultimate Direction. Hop on over to ultimatedirection.com, and on their site, if you use code SteepStuffPod, that's one word, SteepStuffPod, that's going to get you 25% off your cart at checkout. They dropped all kinds of new stuff this summer, not just belts, but 2 really inspiring looking vests, the new Race Vest 6 liter and the Ultra Vest 12 liter in some aesthetic colorways. Great belts as well. The sport belt as well. The race belt as well as the comfort belt are amazing. And yeah, like I said, use code SteepStuffPod for 25% off. Also check out the quiver that just dropped. The quiver's dope. I've been using the quiver for a minute now before it came out, and I was just really stoked on that particular product. So guys, thanks so much. Keep a lookout for Wednesday episode with David Hedges. Whole reflection on Nolan's 14 is going to be dropping. So hope you guys enjoyed that one as well. Thank you.